Alright, let's get into the video. Let's do this. Ugh. Damn, do y'all remember when I used to make, I don't know if y'all remember, but when I used to have my old videos, I used to dance at the end or like the beginning of my videos. Really? I'm trying to film. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Yeah, I just drank 6 cups of coffee for no reason except just to be super pumped for this video and super pumped for you guys while I make this video because it has been one of the most requested videos on my channel. Okay, just kidding. Alright, we'll cut all that. Anyways, that's the kind of energy you need to have when you're on YouTube, but I'll tone down just a little bit, but I am super excited for this video for you guys just because it is one of the most requested videos that I've been asked in the past 2-3 years that I've been on YouTube. Yeah, we're finally getting to it and I'm super stoked. I'm wearing my glasses, my blue blocker glasses from Movement, so I look a little bit smarter. But before you guys go ahead and click off this video, I want you guys to stay till the end because we are going to be doing a giveaway with all these resources. I'll be giving it away to you guys. I really am excited. I didn't even talk about what we're doing, but as you can tell from the title, we're going to be going over how I studied for the GRE, recommendations and tips for you guys for when you guys study for your GRE. These are some of the same books, just the newer versions or the same versions of the resources I used when I studied for my GRE 2 years ago. The reason why I'm making this video and the reason why I get requested this video all the time is because I did score fairly well on the GRE. The score that I got wasn't anything crazy, but it was a 325 and the average on it is a 300. Solid scores for sure, not the greatest, nothing to really brag about, but just here to help you guys in terms of how I studied, and hopefully it'll help you guys structure your studying as well as help you raise your GRE score at least 5 points. Let me preface again by saying this video is not content based. So I'm not going to be going over specific types of questions or things that the GRE covers. That's for you guys to go ahead and study and structure your plan, get the resources to go over that yourself because that's not what I'm here to do. I'm not here to tell you about the specific content that's in the GRE because that's what these books and that's what these resources are for. That's exactly what they're made for and exactly why you should purchase them if you want to do well on the GRE. So I'm gonna actually break this video up into different parts. The first part being the main part, and it's gonna be for people that have 2 to 3 months or set aside 2 to 3 months to study for the GRE. And that seems like a lot of time, and I agree, that is a lot of time, especially if you're working, taking classes, volunteering, shadowing, have a lot on your plate. It is a lot of time to put aside for a standardized test that, you know, people might consider or say isn't a super big deal in terms of PA school.
What?
It might weigh a little bit heavier in other graduate programs, but 2 to 3 months is about the time that I use to study for my GRE. So that's how I'm gonna base most of this video off of. I will talk about my recommendations and tips for someone that only wants to really study a month or someone that only has a month to study for it and doesn't really care to get a super high score, but just wants to get at least the bare minimum of the average score of 300. Again, the GRE is not a make or break. I would say if you have a solid GPA, solid patient care hours, and a well-rounded application, you only really need to score the minimum, which is 300, or the average, to get by on the exam. I would say scoring higher than that or studying really intensively like I did for it is more for the people that have lower GPAs or have different aspects of their application that are weak, and then you can use the GRE kind of as a supplement to help strengthen your application. So if you have a 3.8, 3,000 hours of patient care hours, you only really need the bare minimum of 300. But say you have like a 3.2, 3.3, like 1,000 hours of patient care, having a solid GRE score can help push you up over the edge and help you maybe get that interview. So that's kind of the advice I want to give today. So the first thing I want to go over is scheduling your GRE. I really recommend, if you have the time, to give yourself at least 2 months to study for it. So I recommend 2 to 3 months and dedicating at least a few hours every day studying for it and much more on the weekends. I know a lot of you guys are college students, working full time, doing all that stuff, being super busy, and I was in the same situation as well. I was actually taking some classes and also studying for the GRE. So it was a mix of both and it does get overwhelming, But as long as you set out a few hours every day for it and then study pretty hard on the weekends for it, you'll be in good shape. So go ahead and look at the resources that you have. I really liked Kaplan, and I do recommend to get the ETS book as well. But these 4 books, or these resources, were probably the best resources that I can recommend because they worked really well for me, and I liked how they structured their plan. I want you to go through the book and see how many chapters there are of each. So like the Prep Plus here, which is kind of like an overview of everything. This one right here has 24 chapters. I think these ones have like 10 and 16, and I'm not too sure about this one. But essentially what I want you to do is set a goal for yourself to, cover 1 chapter a day, 1 chapter of verbal a day, 1 chapter of math a day, or just 1 total chapter. And so you just kind of set it out and play with your schedule, figure out what works for you, and then make sure that you do cover all the material. I personally really like the Kaplan books just because they focused a lot on strategy and how to approach the exam and what type of questions you'll see on the exam, as opposed to being super specific to the content. You do focus on a lot of the content, obviously, when you're doing Kaplan, but they also focus on how to approach each question or types of questions so that you can get through all of them a lot quicker. Go through those books, figure out how many chapters there are of each one, spend a few days going over 1 chapter, or see how long it takes you to do a chapter, and then figure out your schedule that way. Let's start out with analytical writing. My score was actually pretty I got a 3.5 out of 6, and that was the 42nd percentile. So out of 100 people, I scored 42nd worst, essentially. So I didn't really spend any time practicing the prompts or practicing writing the prompts out, so that was huge for me. All of these books that I recommend to you guys, they come with a bunch of prompts for you guys to practice, and they go over tips on how you should present your argument and how you should format your essay. So definitely look at that section. I focused really heavily on verbal and math. I've heard that PA schools don't focus too much on the writing score, but you want to get at least a 3.5 or 4. 4 is average. You want to get at least a 4. I'm just really bad at writing. Moving on to the math section, the quantitative section, I scored a 162, which is 82nd percentile, so like a B range. Wasn't the best score. I was actually kind of disappointed when I got my score, but I did really like Kaplan's math book. They did a really great job of going over all the strategies of the different types of questions you'll see. There's a lot of probability, there's like real numbers, all these fractions, all these weird concepts that you never use and that you probably learned in like 7th, 8th, and 9th grade that you don't really need to use in real life. Go through the chapters. There's only 16 and they're fairly short, and just do a bunch of practice problems. A really cool thing about getting these Kaplan resources is it comes with an online kind of like an application where they have 1,000 practice questions for you guys, over 1,000 practice questions for you guys. So if you feel like you're struggling on a specific topic like probability or fractions or real numbers, things like that, you can choose those specific types of questions and keep answering them and keep using their question bank to practice them and get better at. So that's really awesome about Kaplan, is they actually have an online, not online, but they have a computer application that you get with getting this, which you guys will get as well when I guess send this to you guys, or if you purchase this, that will help you guys. And go ahead and use the Kaplan app to go through practice questions to work on areas that you need to improve on. Verbal reasoning, everyone's favorite verbal reasoning. Just kidding. Who actually likes verbal reasoning? Because I hated it. But yeah, actually I don't hate it now. I actually enjoy it now, which is so strange because when I was going through it, I didn't really like it. But one side note is doing well on this is gonna help you for PA school or medical school or whatever you choose to go into, because when you do take exams in PA school, or if you take the national exam, it's vignette style. So it's gonna be a long paragraph story, and you gotta figure out what's important, what's not important. And so you actually do realize that the verbal reasoning stuff that you do for the GRE helps you in PA school. Crazy, right? All right, so for verbal reasoning, I scored a 163, which is the 92nd percentile. So I scored 1 point higher on verbal than math. And I'm a math guy. Like, I loved math in high school, and so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna score super, super high. And then when I finally got my score back for my GRE, and I saw that my verbal score was higher, I was mind blown and I was kind of shocked. I was very happy with my verbal score, but I was kind of disappointed in my math score. But anyway, and when I was going through different practice tests, my score was like in the high 150s, but it was never really like 160 or above. So I was kind of like, what can I do to improve my score? And what I learned is that the easiest way to improve your verbal reasoning score is learn as much vocab as possible. Let me repeat that. Learn as much vocab as possible. And that's actually going to be the easiest way to raise your score too. So when you're studying for the GRE, you're probably thinking, there's so many vocab words. But then when you think about it, there's only so many vocab words.
Oh, okay. I see what you did there.
That they're going to test you on. And a lot of the roots are similar. So once you get the hang of like 100, 200, 300, 400 vocab words, I know it sounds crazy, you will be super, super good at, figuring out words that aren't necessarily ones that you studied, but are very similar to ones that you studied. Something crazy that I did, and I think I'm a little bit extreme, but when I study for something or like a big exam, I take it super seriously. But something that I did was I got the GRE vocab words, and essentially what I did was I made my own through these. And so I went ahead and got some random flashcards, like super cheap ones, cut them all in half, so then they were like maybe this big. So I went ahead and put all those GRE words from this on those flashcards that I made individually. And something about this GRE book, like you can just look from the back, it says panache. It's a noun. It means to be flamboyant or dash in style and action, to verb. And so that definition is way too long for me to remember. So what I did was I put the GRE on one side of the card, and on the other side of the flashcard, I put a one-word definition or synonym of the word so that I don't have to memorize a whole sentence worth of a definition. But say for this panache, I would write like flair or flamboyant. And an example I like to use is the word enervate. And enervate means to weaken or reduce in size, something along those lines. So what I did was I wrote enervate on one side, and then on the other side I wrote weaken. So you kind of get the whole definition, but it's all summarized into one word. So you're going through it super fast, super fast. And so it just helps you memorize so many more vocab words. And that's something that I don't think a lot of people harp on, is they want you to memorize full sentence definitions, which I think is a huge waste of time, huge waste of brain space. So one tip that I have for increasing your verbal score right away is to memorize more vocab words. Make your own flashcards so that you're only memorizing one-word definitions to the GRE word. And I think I memorized over 300, 400. I have a shoebox worth of GRE cards that I made, and there was like probably like 400 in there. And I actually went through all of those. It took me about 45 minutes to run through every single one. But it definitely helped my score a lot, because a lot of the words that they use do come up over and over again from old tests, and the ones like in this, there's a lot of these words that you'll see on your actual GRE. In terms of the actual passage that you do read, like the verbal reasoning, and my approach might be different from what a GRE instructor might tell you, but this is just what worked for me. I went ahead and read the passage, and then pretty much before I looked at the questions, I summarized the passage in my head to one sentence, one or two sentences, and I also summarized the author's point of view or what argument they're trying to make, because a lot of the verbal section is not only figuring out what the article is about, but it's a lot about figuring out what the author was trying to convey or what they thought about whatever they were talking about and what their opinion was. So you want to summarize what the actual article was about, and also summarize what you think the author was trying to talk about or what point they're trying to make. So that's how I approached it. Again, do what works for you, trial and error. Some people like to look at the questions before they look at the actual passage, and that works for them. For me, I liked actually reading the passage, so then I kind of had my own idea or my own understanding of the passage before I looked at the questions. And I think I tried out different methods, and that's the one that worked best for me. All right, and arguably the most important aspect of studying for the GRE, in my opinion, in JMK's opinion, aka Fresh Prince of Healthcare, aka James, whatever you want to call me. My best advice for someone studying for the GRE in general, doesn't matter timeline, is to take as many practice tests as you possibly can. And what does that mean? So Kaplan, when you get the books, it comes with, I believe, I think it comes with like 4 practice tests, something along those lines. So you get to practice with full-length practice tests that are similar to the actual GRE. And then if you purchase this book, There's actually 2 full practice tests in here, paper version, and then I think you can go on the ETS website and get 2 free online practice tests as well. And these are the most important practice tests because ETS, they're actually the makers of the actual GRE test. So these are the people that make the questions, and they have a book out to help you do well in their exam. So why wouldn't you get this book, right? It just doesn't make sense if you don't get this book. So this book I highly recommend just because of the full practice tests. They're gonna be super similar. I think they're old GRE tests from the past, so they're gonna be super relevant and super helpful in terms of helping you guys figure out what you need to work on and all that good stuff. So when you do take these practice tests, whether it's Kaplan or the official ETS or Magoosh or Princeton Review, I want you to do it in a real life simulation of what your GRE would be like. So if you're gonna be taking the GRE on a computer, which I think 90%, 95% of you guys will be, practice on a computer or like a Dell or whatever, whether that's in a library or somewhere where you won't be interrupted. Your GRE you do have to take at a standard test taking center, like a super professional one where they have like a proctor and you have to turn all your stuff into a locker, things like that. So it's super serious. Like if you get caught cheating, I'm pretty sure it's a huge fine or something. Yeah, you want to practice simulating real life test taking situations. So when you do take your practice test, do them exactly how the actual GRE is run. So when it says, oh, you can take a 10-minute break now, that's when you should take the break. Don't take it in the middle of a passage. Don't go to the bathroom or anything like that because that's not how it works in the actual GRE exam or the actual standardized exam that you do take. So go ahead and simulate your test taking day situation and environment. You do get a calculator on the actual GRE on the computer. It's like a little basic one that you have to like use your mouse and click the buttons. So practice using that. Don't practice with an actual calculator because I don't think you get one. You can only use the one that they have on the computer. And again, the test is gonna be under 4 hours. So when you do take your practice test, set out a chunk of 4 hours for you to actually take the whole practice test in the allotted time. Don't take it like in 6, 7, 8 hours when take a lot of breaks in between, just because it kind of defeats the purpose of getting you into the mood or getting you into the vibe of actually taking the actual GRE. My camera keeps overheating from all this fire content I'm trying to share with you guys. So again, the practice tests are the most important things that I recommend you to do. Go through them, figure out what questions or types of questions you got wrong. So go through the questions you didn't do well on and then do the question bank of questions on that specific content so that you can improve on that specific section and you're not wasting time doing a lot of questions on sections that are really easy for you. So you really want to focus on the sections that you're weak in and obviously do a little less for the sections that you are stronger in. And so the reason why I love the Kaplan resources is because it comes with so many different things. There's like 20 practice verbal sections, there's like 20 practice math sections, there's full-length tests that you can practice with, and then the over 1,000 question bank of topics that you can specifically choose to cater towards your own studying. So I really like Kaplan a lot. I just really like that they're more strategy based as opposed to content because yeah, content you can learn from anyone, but learning how to take the actual exam, I think that's more important overall. And if you are studying for less than a month, I do recommend getting maybe just this book, the official GRE, or maybe even just the Prep Plus, this one right here. So just getting one of these and then going through all the chapters as quickly as you can and then doing practice tests and seeing how you do on those practice tests. And again, catering your own studying to the things that you are weaker in, because there's no point in studying or doing 100 questions in probability if you keep getting all of them correct. And you want to focus on topics and content that you're not as strong in. So that's the most important thing in my opinion. So my recommendation for someone with less than a month of studying is to just get one of these books, maybe this book or the Prep Plus, and going through the whole book as fast as you can or however time you have for that, and do as many practice tests as possible. And going back to scheduling, so when I did tell you guys about figuring out how many chapters you want to get done with these books, I definitely recommend you to finish at least 2 weeks in terms of content review at least 2 weeks before your actual exam. So I want you to finish 2 weeks before your actual GRE, finishing up the content. And then that 1 week after you finish the content, I want you to just take a bunch of practice tests. And with that, you're gonna figure out what topics you're not as strong in, and you're gonna focus on those sections. You don't wanna be learning new material, learning new strategy, so close to the exam. You should be finishing up that stuff at least 2 weeks before your actual GRE. So once you get all the content, I want you to finish all the rest of your practice tests that you have left over. Go through the practice tests, review them, figure out what you need to work on as last minute, and then go ahead and crush your GRE. Woo! Alright, that was kind of a mouthful. I don't know how long this video is gonna be, but hopefully you guys are still here. But kind of what you guys have been waiting for, I am gonna be giving away all these resources to actually, I think one person. I want someone to kind of have all the resources I used. This is like over $100 worth of stuff. And if you have any other tips or questions or anything you want to chime in on, go ahead and comment that below. I respond to, I think 90% of the comments, 95%, almost 100%. So if you do have any tips, comments, or recommendations for anyone taking the GRE, like if you use Magoosh or Princeton Review, let us know how that worked out for you in the comments down below. I do want to hear your guys' feedback. And yeah, okay, so we're moving on to the actual giveaway portion of this. So the deadline for this giveaway, I'm gonna be doing April 14th, 11:59 p.m. and I'll be choosing the winner on Monday the 15th. So the last chance to enter the giveaway through these comments is going to be April 14th, 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. And it is the next day, that's why I'm wearing a new shirt. So essentially all you have to do to enter this giveaway is to like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me on Instagram at Fresh Prince of Healthcare, and then comment down below when you plan on taking the GRE and someone who inspired you or someone who's inspired you to be on the path that you're on now. So whether that be a PA mentor, a friend, a family member, a doctor, a physician, nurse practitioner, any of those. So all you gotta do is go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram, and comment down below when you're gonna be taking the GRE, as well as someone who inspired you or has inspired you on your path in whatever field that you're interested in. So go ahead and enter the giveaway. I'll leave the rules again in the description below. I know this video has been long overdue, but I'm just happy to get this out for you guys. I know I didn't go into a lot of content based. It's more structure and more kind of surface level stuff. So if you do have any other questions or any specific questions for yourself, I can help cater a plan for you, help you figure out a plan for your studying. Just go ahead and comment below or DM me at Fresh Prince of Healthcare. Don't forget to be like my blood type, be positive. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!